For a goal, it's the best feeling in the world. Well, I'm telling you it is.
For nearly 20 years, this rugged, inspirational striker was at the very heart of English football.
Look at all-round centre forwards. He could do everything.
Alan Shearer names his 5 favourite football players, and people say he's a master at picking them. But here's the thing that makes everyone argue: every single player on his list played for rival clubs, the very teams he battled against week after week. Some say he's just being nice to old friends, but that's not what this is about. Shearer's choices actually reveal what he thinks makes a player truly great, and it's not what you'd expect from the Premier League's all-time top scorer. Let's talk about who Alan Shearer actually is. He holds the record as the greatest goal scorer in Premier League history with 260 goals. Nobody has ever come close to matching that number. His career started at Southampton from 1988 to 1992, where he scored 23 goals in 118 appearances. Then came Blackburn Rovers from 1992 to 1996, where he absolutely destroyed defences with 112 goals in just 138 games. That's when he won the English Championship title in the 1994-95 season, Blackburn's only major trophy. After that, he joined Newcastle United in 1996, his boyhood club, and stayed there until 2006. He scored 148 goals in 303 appearances for Newcastle, becoming an absolute legend in the North East. But the most famous thing about Shearer's career isn't just the goals. It's the 2 times he said no to Manchester United. In 1992, when United wanted him, he chose Blackburn instead. That decision made United sign Eric Cantona, who became a legend there. Then, in 1996, after Euro 96, everyone thought he would finally join United. He was very close, even picked out a house to buy, but he chose Newcastle instead for a world record fee at the time. He traded almost certain trophies for something else, becoming a hero in his hometown and breaking the all-time scoring record. That choice tells you everything about what Shearer values in football. Now, let's get into his 5 favourite players. All 5 of them are English. They were all his teammates or rivals during the late 1990s and 2000s. These players defined the Premier League era when it was at its most competitive. But here's what makes this list really interesting. Shearer was a specialist striker who stayed in the box and scored goals. That was his job, and he did it better than anyone. But the players he picked, the ones he admires most, they all had qualities he didn't have. He's praising things like versatility and technical skill, things that weren't really his style. It's like he's looking at the game and saying, these are the qualities that matter most, even if they weren't his own strengths. Let's start with number 5, David Beckham. Now, Beckham had incredible talent. Everyone knows that. His crossing ability was perfect, his free kicks were unstoppable, and he became one of the most famous players in the world. But Shearer said something really interesting about him. He noted that Beckham's legacy would be even greater if he hadn't left the Premier League for Real Madrid in 2003. Think about what that means. Shearer is saying that staying in England and building a long career in one place matters more than going to Spain and winning trophies there. This is huge because it explains exactly why Shearer himself turned down Manchester United twice. He believed that staying loyal to one place, being there year after year, creates a bigger legacy than chasing trophies somewhere else. Beckham left England and became a global superstar, but Shearer thinks he gave up something more valuable, which was being a permanent fixture in English football history. That trade-off between fame and lasting local impact is at the heart of Shearer's philosophy. At number 4, we have Frank Lampard. Lampard scored an absolutely massive amount of goals from midfield. For Shearer, who is the record goal scorer himself, goal numbers are everything. They're the proof that matters most. Lampard played in central midfield, a position where most players are happy to get 5 or 10 goals a season. But Lampard was scoring 15, 20 goals every single year from that deep position. That's insane. Shearer values this because goals are the clearest way to measure how good a player is in attack. You can talk about passes and movement all day, but goals are what win matches. Lampard Lampard combined technical skill with pure output, and that combination is what Shearer respects most. If you can control a game like a midfielder and still score like a forward, you're doing something special. That's why Lampard is on this list. Before we get to the top 3, let's talk about something. If you're watching this and you think Frank Lampard should have been ranked higher because of everything he achieved at Chelsea, hit the like button right now and drop a comment telling us who your favourite midfielder of all time is. We want to know if you rate Lampard, Gerrard or Scholes as the best. Let us know down below. Number 3 is Steven Gerrard. This one is really personal for Shearer. Gerrard was praised for his ability to carry Liverpool on his back, to inspire his team when things looked hopeless, to score important goals in massive moments. He was a leader who could single-handedly change a match. The famous Champions League final in Istanbul, the FA Cup final, where he scored that incredible last-minute goal. These were moments where Gerrard just refused to let his team lose. That's the kind of player he was. Now think about Shearer at Newcastle. He spent 10 years as captain there, being the main man, the player everyone looked to when they needed something special. Newcastle never won the Premier League during his time. They came close, but never got the trophies. Similarly, Gerrard at Liverpool had limited team success in the league. Both players were heroes at their clubs. Both were captains who gave everything, but neither won the league titles their talent deserved. Shearer sees himself in Gerrard. He understands what it means to be the inspirational leader who stays loyal, even when you could leave for an easier path to trophies. That intangible quality, that mental strength to keep going and keep leading even without the silverware, that's what Shearer values in Gerrard. It's about more than what you win. It's about how you inspire people and what you mean to your club. Number 2 is Paul Scholes. Shearer rates Scholes incredibly highly for his technical brilliance. Scholes had perfect ball control, his passing range was absolutely incredible, and he understood the game like a chess master. He was the engine that made Manchester United work for so many years. Now, Shearer was a goal scorer, not a technical wizard, but he knows that strikers need great midfielders behind them. Without someone like Scholes controlling the game, playing the perfect passes and dictating the tempo, strikers can't do their job properly. Shearer is showing that he understands football isn't just about scoring, it's about the whole system. The technical players who keep the ball, who find the right pass at the right time, they're just as important as the goal scorers. By putting Scholes at number 2, Shearer is saying that technical purity and football intelligence are maybe even more important than just scoring goals. That's a massive statement from the man who scored more Premier League goals than anyone else. And at number 1, Wayne Rooney. Shearer calls Rooney the ultimate all-round player with unmatched versatility and work ethic. This is the most interesting choice because Rooney was nothing like Shearer. Shearer stayed in the box and finished chances. That was his role. But Rooney could score, create, drop deep, play as a midfielder, defend from the front, and do everything in between. He was everywhere on the pitch. Shearer, who built his career on being a specialist, is putting the versatile player at number 1. He's basically saying the future of football belongs to players who can do everything, not just one thing, really well. Rooney was the heartbeat of Manchester United during their successful years under Sir Alex Ferguson. He worked harder than anyone. He could play any attacking position, and he combined goal scoring with creating chances for others. For Shearer to rank this type of player first shows that he understands how the game has evolved. Modern football needs players who can adapt and contribute in multiple ways, and Rooney was the perfect example of that. But here's something important to mention. Shearer has publicly said that Lionel Messi is the greatest player of all time. He's been very clear about that since 2018. So why isn't Messi on this list? Because this list isn't about who the best players in the world are. It's about his favourite players from English football, the ones who defined the Premier League era alongside him. This is a personal list about domestic excellence and the players he competed with and respected the most. It's not a list of the global greats. That's why it's all English players from his generation. Now let's talk about what made Shearer himself so special beyond just the goal total. He was the most prolific penalty taker in Premier League history. He scored 56 penalties out of 67 attempts, which is an 83.6% conversion rate. Those 56 penalties make up over 21% of his total goals. That shows incredible mental strength. Taking a penalty in a huge match with thousands of people watching and millions more on television, that's pure pressure. Shearer almost never missed. Reliability in high-pressure moments is what separated him from other strikers. Anyone can score when the game is already won. The great players score when it really matters, and Shearer did that more consistently than almost anyone. Another thing that made Shearer special was his durability. He played at the highest level for so long. Most strikers start to decline in their early 30s because of injuries and the physical demands of the position. But Shearer scored his 7th season with 20 or more goals when he was 33 years old. That's incredible longevity, especially in the 1990s and 2000s when English football was much more physical and aggressive than it is now. Defenders could tackle much harder back then, and Shearer took a beating every single week, but he kept going, kept scoring, kept leading. That sustained excellence over more than a decade is what allowed him to break the record and stay at the top. His physical presence was also a huge part of his game. Shearer was strong, powerful, and knew exactly how to use his body to hold off defenders. He wasn't the fastest striker, but he didn't need to be. His positioning was perfect, his timing was brilliant, and when the ball came into the box, he was always in the right place. He had incredible heading ability too, scoring numerous goals with his head throughout his career. His shooting power was legendary. When Shearer hit the ball, goalkeepers knew about it. That combination of strength, positioning, and pure striking ability made him almost impossible to stop. Defenders knew what he was going to do, but they still couldn't prevent it. That's the mark of a truly elite striker. There's one part of Shearer's life after playing that people don't talk about much, but it actually proves something important. In 2009, he became Newcastle United's manager for the last 8 games of the season. The team was in trouble, fighting against relegation. Shearer came in to try to save them, but it didn't work. He managed 8 games, won only 1, drew 2, and lost 5. Newcastle got relegated. It was a disaster, but here's what that tells us. Being a great player doesn't mean you'll be a great manager. Shearer was an inspirational leader on the pitch, someone players looked up to and followed. But managing requires different skills. You need tactical knowledge, the ability to organise training, man management skills, and strategic thinking. Those are different from just being a great player and captain. The failed management stint actually proves that Shearer's greatness was specifically about his playing ability, his leadership by example on the pitch, not about being a coach or tactician. He was a born player and leader, not a manager. But the most important thing Shearer has done since retiring is the Alan Shearer Foundation. This is his real legacy beyond football. He created this foundation to provide free sensory and specialist activities for profoundly disabled children and adults. The foundation serves over 5,000 active members who rely on these free services. It costs a minimum of £320,000 every single year to keep the services free and running. Over the years, the foundation has raised £7 million. They've invested £500,000 just in upgrading sensory playground equipment. This isn't just a charity that exists on paper. This is a real, working centre that changes lives every single day in the North East. This foundation is the ultimate proof of Shearer's loyalty to the region. He didn't just play for Newcastle and then leave. He stayed, he invested his time and money, and he created something permanent that will help people long after he's gone. This is what he meant when he chose Newcastle over Manchester United. He wanted to mean something to the people of the North East, to be more than just a footballer who played there. He wanted to be a permanent part of the community, someone who made a real difference to people's lives. The foundation proves that his choice to stay loyal wasn't just about football glory. It was about being rooted in a place and giving back to the people who supported him. That's a legacy that goes way beyond trophies and goal records. So what does all of this tell us about Alan Shearer? He's the Premier League's all-time top scorer with 260 goals that nobody has matched. He's the only player to score over 100 goals for 2 different clubs. He won 3 Golden Boots and finished 3rd in the Ballon d'Or voting in 1996. He was one of the first 2 players ever inducted into the Premier League Hall of Fame. His penalty record is unmatched. His longevity was incredible. But more than all of that, he made a choice to prioritize prioritised loyalty and local legacy over collecting trophies at the biggest club. He turned down Manchester United twice, stayed in the North East, broke the scoring record, and became a permanent icon. Then he created a foundation that helps thousands of people and will continue doing so for generations. His list of 5 favourite players shows us what he values. Loyalty like Gerrard showed at Liverpool, technical brilliance like Scholes had at United, goal output like Lampard produced from midfield, versatility like Rooney brought to every match, and sustained domestic presence like he wishes Beckham had maintained. These aren't just random choices. They're a window into how Shearer sees greatness. It's not just about talent, it's about commitment, output, leadership, and staying power. Alan Shearer is a master, not just at scoring goals, but at understanding what truly matters in football and in life. He's a monument to English striking, a record holder who will never be forgotten, and a community figure who changed lives off the pitch. That's why he remains one of the most important figures in Premier League history. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button and subscribe for more football content. We'll see you in the next one. People think they know Chris Waddle, the showman, the maverick, with that unique, slouched running style, the uncoached entertainer who escaped a sausage factory to dazzle crowds across Europe. But this view is wrong, or at least incomplete. When Chris Waddle names his 4 favourite football players, it is not just a list of friends, it is a confession of his deepest values, a blueprint of the world in which he thrived. His choices reveal something unexpected. He picked a keeper, a fullback, a centre-back, and a midfielder. Together, they show he was not just an instinctive winger, he was a secret tactician. His magic was built on a foundation of composure, discipline, security, and genius. We are about to reveal the real Chris Waddle and the architects who made his brilliance possible. Waddle was never fast. He used a deceptive, languid grace instead. He skipped by helpless opponents, lulling them before deploying his majestic left foot. His career took him from Newcastle, where he helped secure promotion, to Tottenham, where he partnered with Glenn Hoddle. Then came Marseille, where he became Magic Chris, winning 3 titles and reaching a European Cup final. Finally, Sheffield Wednesday, where he was crowned FWA Footballer of the Year in 1993. Waddle loved being a showman, but he knew the show needed a stage. What do you think is more important in football, pure entertainment or tactical discipline? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and if you enjoy deep dives that look past the obvious, make sure to subscribe for more stories like this. His journey to the top was anything but conventional. After rejections from multiple league clubs, Waddle was playing for Tolaw Town in the Northern League when Newcastle United took a £1,000 gamble on the 20-year-old in 1980. It was a move that rescued him from manual labour at a sausage factory. This grounding in the raw, chaotic world of non-league football shaped the player he would become. He honed his dribbling in sprawling 25-a-side matches on bumpy pitches. He learned to be instinctive, individualistic, and utterly unique. At Newcastle, he was the raw, emerging talent. After a slow start, he established himself as a key attacking force. He played alongside England captain Kevin Keegan and the gifted Peter Beardsley. This potent trio fired Newcastle to promotion to the First Division in the 1983-84 season. Waddle netted 18 league goals that campaign. In total, he scored 52 goals in 191 appearances for the Magpies, earning his first England cap and marking himself as one of the country's most exciting prospects. His style was described as unhurried and laid back. It could be misconstrued as laziness when things went wrong, but when they went right, it was pure artistry. He did not sprint past defenders. He dropped his shoulder and swung his majestic left foot to manipulate the ball wherever he wished. He operated on instinct, openly skeptical of rigid coaching. He proudly stated that he was never coached and bet that John Barnes, Peter Beardsley, and Paul Gascoigne were never coached either. For Waddle, the game was about expression and entertainment above all else. The first architect Waddle admired was Ray Clements, his goalkeeper at Tottenham. Waddle said of him, never committed himself in one-on-ones, always stayed big and made strikers beat him. Great awareness too. Clements was a legend who relied on intelligence and anticipation. He made hard saves look routine, spreading unshakable composure throughout his defence. In the 1978-79 season with Liverpool, he conceded a mere 16 goals in 42 league matches. It was a record-breaking testament to his consistency and the organisation he commanded. But there was another reason Waddle picked him. It was his distribution. Waddle remembered how Clements would catch the ball, and within seconds it would be at your feet, out on the wing. Clements was the attacking catalyst. He was a prototype of the modern sweeper-keeper, comfortable with the ball at his feet and possessing a superb range of distribution. He did not just stop goals, he initiated them, giving Waddle the ball early before the defence could reset. That rapid transition was crucial to how Waddle operated during their 105 games together at Tottenham. This feature was key to a side that finished third in the league and reached multiple cup finals. Understanding what Clements brought to a team reveals much about Waddle's tactical mind. A winger's life is one of risk and reward. To beat a defender, to deliver a decisive cross, to cut inside and shoot. These actions require supreme confidence, not just in your own ability, but in the security of the team behind you. Waddle valued the players who provided the twin foundations of his game: a rapid start to the attack and the defensive solidity that permitted him to gamble in the final third. The second architect was Roland Nilsson, his teammate at Sheffield Wednesday. Waddle praised him for being very disciplined, rarely caught out of position, rarely made mistakes. A very good reader of the game who kept it simple. By the time Waddle reached Wednesday, he was in his 30s. He was older and relied more on guile than pace. His effectiveness depended on a partner who could provide the energy and defensive cover on the right flank. In Swedish international Roland Nilsson, he found the perfect foil. Their relationship was symbiotic. Nilsson's defensive solidity and overlapping runs created space. His relentless work rate and tactical discipline occupied defenders, while his reliability meant Waddle could conserve his energy for the moments that mattered in the attacking third. Waddle himself said that Nilsson's discipline allowed him to concentrate on terrorising opposition defences. This was no small praise for a player who was already a UEFA Cup and four-time Swedish League winner before arriving at Hillsborough. Nilsson's consistent, unassuming excellence made him a cult hero among Wednesday fans, a quiet legend in a team of stars. Nilsson was the enabler. He provided the structure so Waddle could provide the magic. This partnership led to Waddle's 1993 FWA Footballer of the Year award in the 1992-93 season. With Nilsson locking down the right side of defence, Waddle was unleashed. He produced arguably the finest football of his career on English soil, guiding Wednesday to the finals of both the FA Cup and the League Cup. The success of a winger is contingent on two critical factors: receiving the ball quickly in advantageous positions and having the licence to take creative risks without fear of exposing your own team. Clements solved the first problem. Nilsson solved the second. The third architect was Carlos Moser, his centre-back at Marseille. Waddle described him perfectly, exactly as you would expect from a Brazilian. He was technically out of this world, but if you wanted a fight, he would fight you. He added that he had never seen anyone as good in the air and that Moser could have played in any position. A must. Moser was the central pillar of Bernard Tapie's Galactico project, a team of superstars assembled to conquer Europe. Standing at 6'2", the Brazilian international was a physically imposing presence. He played 111 games alongside Waddle, providing the steel that allowed the team's constellation of attacking stars to flourish. Players like Waddle, Jean-Pierre Papin, Abedi Pele and Enzo Francescoli could express themselves because Moser held the defensive line. Moser perfectly embodied the team's ethos of winning by any means necessary. He was a cultured defender, comfortable on the ball and capable of launching attacks from the back. This aligned with the Brazilian stereotype of technical elegance. However, he was also an intimidating and aggressive competitor. His disciplinary record at Marseille proves it. He picked up 24 yellow cards and 2 red cards in 89 league appearances. That is evidence of the fight Waddle mentioned. His aerial dominance, which Waddle described as the best he had ever seen, was another key weapon. It made Marseille formidable at both ends of the pitch from set pieces. In Moser, Marseille had a player who could outplay you or outfight you, a combination that propelled them to 3 straight league titles and the brink of European glory. Moser was the foundation. He represented the lesson Waddle learned in France: sublime talent must be backed by an uncompromising competitive spirit. Moser was the steel that allowed Waddle and the other artists to flourish. This duality captures something essential about elite football. At the highest level, artistry alone is not enough. It must be fused with a warrior's will to win. Waddle's experience at Marseille was transformative. His primary role there was to make goals for Papin and entertain. He was liberated in an environment where his gifts were not seen as a luxury, but as an essential part of a winning formula. The fourth architect was Glenn Hoddle, his teammate at Tottenham. Waddle said, "What a talent!" He considered Hoddle the best naturally gifted player he ever played with. In Waddle's eyes, he was the best ever. Waddle used a striking comparison. He said Hoddle was like a quarterback in American football. You would make runs, and he would just drop the ball at your feet. He also said he had never seen such a technically gifted player with both feet. Hoddle is widely regarded as one of the most gifted English players in history. He was a midfielder, blessed with sublime balance and close control, unrivaled passing and vision, and extraordinary shooting ability. The key to his genius, as Waddle correctly identified, was his ambidexterity. His ability to execute perfectly weighted 40-yard passes or powerful shots with either foot made him incredibly difficult to defend against. It gave him a range of options unavailable to almost any other player. During their 112 games together at Tottenham, their chemistry was telepathic. Waddle, the dynamic runner who stretched the play, was the ideal target for Hoddle, the deep-lying playmaker. The quarterback analogy is perfectly apt. Hoddle would survey the field and launch precise, visionary passes. Waddle would be the receiver running the route. Their close relationship extended off the pitch, famously culminating in their 1987 duet Diamond Lights, which reached number 12 in the UK charts. Furthermore, both men shared the experience of being somewhat underappreciated by a succession of England managers. These managers often struggled to accommodate their continental style in a more rigid, physical setup. This shared frustration likely deepened Waddle's admiration for Hoddle's unique talent. French legend Michael Platini once remarked that if Hoddle and Waddle were French, he would have built his team around them. It was a sentiment that spoke to how their talents were better understood abroad than at home. Hoddle was the visionary that Waddle's intelligent runs required. He was pure, unadulterated, technical genius. If Moser represented the fusion of skill and strength, Hoddle was the personification of artistry itself. Together with Moser, these two players chart the evolution of Chris Waddle's own understanding of the game. Hoddle represents the ideal of technical football that Waddle had always cherished, the kind of player he aspired to play alongside from his earliest days. Moser represents the lesson learned at the zenith of his career in Marseille, that to win at the very highest level, sublime talent must be buttressed by physical dominance and competitive spirit. So what does this all mean? Waddle's 4 choices are not random. They are a definitive blueprint. First, Clements, the catalyst, providing quick distribution. Second, Nilsson, the enabler, offering defensive discipline. Third, Moser, the foundation, combining technical steel. Fourth, Hoddle, the visionary, delivering creative genius. This blueprint debunks the lazy caricature of the luxury player. It proves Waddle was a deep thinker who understood his own art needed a flawless and reliable stage crew. He was not anti-system, he was anti-rigidity. His frustration was not with tactics themselves, but with restrictive tactics that stifled creativity. The very players he chose for his perfect team were disciplined, intelligent, and masters of their craft. They show that he understood his art required a well-built gallery. When Waddle lamented that he was considered a luxury player in England until his move to France, he was highlighting a key difference in footballing cultures in the English game of the 1980s, which often prioritised physicality and work rate. A player of his unique gifts could be seen as an indulgence. At Marseille, his role was clearly defined within a superstar team: create, entertain, and supply the ammunition for striker Jean-Pierre Papin. This was not an absence of tactics, but rather an intelligent application of them, designed to maximise the impact of a specialist. His ideal team is one of perfect balance. Defensive diligence enables attacking expression. Physical power provides the platform for technical brilliance. He understood, implicitly, that for every showman on the stage, there must be a flawless and reliable stage crew working diligently behind the scenes. His selections reveal what he relied upon in moments of pressure, what he admired in the heat of competition, and how he truly understood the intricate geometry of the game. His ultimate legacy is his embodiment of a profound truth, that the most entertaining football is also the most intelligent. He knew that for magic to be possible, you first need architects. His career was a testament to talent, perseverance, and the joy of football. His journey from a Northern League hopeful to a European Cup finalist is one of the sport's great romantic narratives. He won league titles, was crowned Footballer of the Year, and left an indelible mark on every club he represented, from the terraces of St James's Park to the fervent cauldron of the Stade Velodrome. Yet, as revealed by the teammates he revered, his greatest contribution may be his demonstration of balance between structure and freedom. He championed the cause of the entertainer, the player who could make a stadium hold its collective breath. As he once said, all fans want to see their teams win, but they love it even more when they are entertained as well. Through his own dazzling play, and through his admiration for the architects who enabled it, Chris Waddle showed the world how to achieve both. In the end, Chris Waddle was not just Magic Chris, he was a connoisseur of the game. He appreciated the goalkeeper's quick throw, the fullback's disciplined positioning, the centre-back's aerial dominance, and the midfielder's perfect pass. He knew these were the elements that made his own magic possible. He was not a naive individualist, but a deeply intelligent footballer who understood precisely what was required to make his brilliance shine. Thanks for watching.
Championship.
Terry last year was possibly our most influential player, so we will miss him greatly this year, but you can talk about luck in football. I believe that luck evens itself out over a season. Hopefully it will for us. We've had a fairly traumatic...
He was my GOAT. That single phrase perfectly sums up how Terry Butcher feels about the 7 players he has chosen as his all-time favourites. But what makes this list so special is not just the skill on display. It is a window into the soul of a man who became one of England's greatest defenders. Terry Butcher spent decades leading teams with his bare hands and fierce determination. Yet, when he looks back at the players he loved most, he does not just pick warriors like himself. He picks a perfect mix of steel and silk. He picks players who had character. He picks players who made him better, made him laugh, and made him think. These 7 names tell the story of English football from the 1970s through to the 1990s. More than that, they tell us what truly matters in the game. Terry Butcher was born in Singapore and raised in Suffolk. He became the physical and moral heart of English football. During his time at Ipswich Town under Bobby Robson, his later years in Scotland with Rangers, and his long spell with the England national team, Butcher learned what made great players special. He was not just a stopper. He was not just a hard man. He was a thinking defender who understood the value of everyone around him. The way he built his favourite list proves this. 4 of these players are defenders or goalkeepers. 3 are attackers and midfielders. It shows he knew that no team can win with 11 players like him. Let's start with the man behind him. Peter Shilton was England's most capped goalkeeper. Butcher calls him the best he ever played with. Why? Not because of diving saves or fancy footwork. Shilton was chosen because he talked. He talked all the time. Shouted. He kept Butcher on his toes. In football, a centre-back often has to watch a forward in front of him. He cannot always see what is happening behind him. Shilton's voice was like a second pair of eyes. It was a radar that showed Butcher where danger was coming. Knowing Shilton was behind him meant Butcher could attack the ball harder. If he missed a header, if he was turned around, there was a fail-safe. There was the most reliable goalkeeper in English history. Shilton saved Butcher's bacon on a few occasions. Those moments where a striker got in behind the defence. Those split seconds where everything could have gone wrong. Shilton was there. Butcher played with Chris Woods at Rangers. Woods came very close to taking this spot, but Shilton had something else. He had the World Cups. He had the penalty heartbreak of Turin. He had a whole decade with Butcher where they built a telepathic understanding. Stability is what Shilton gave. In a career of chaos, Shilton brought order. But if Shilton was the partner Butcher relied on, Kevin Beattie was the player Butcher wanted to become. Beattie was his idol at Ipswich. This is emotional. Butcher arrived as a young player when Beattie was already the best defender in the country. Beattie was rare. Most defenders in the 1970s were either pure stoppers or ball players. Beattie was both. He was lightning quick with a rocket shot. He could win physical duels and outpace wingers. Then he would join the attack to score from 30 yards. For young Butcher, watching Beattie was a masterclass in defending. But there is tragedy in Beattie's story. Knee operations ended his career far too early. He played over 200 matches for Ipswich, but only 9 caps for England. What could have been troubles Butcher deeply. He saw his idol robbed of his rightful place in history. Butcher describes Beattie as a monster. He was daft, but also lovely. This tells us something crucial about Ipswich under Robson. The team bonded through characters. Beattie could be foolish off the pitch, but brilliant on it. He made teammates laugh. Butcher learned that teams need characters, not just technicians. By selecting him, Butcher pays tribute to his talent. Stuart Pearce burst onto the international stage with audacity. Butcher was an established veteran when young Pearce made his England debut against Brazil at Wembley. Butcher was marshalling the defence. Suddenly he heard a voice. Pearce was telling him to mark someone. For a debutant to shout at a senior player was unheard of. It broke all the rules. In football, young players were supposed to be quiet. They were supposed to watch and learn. Pearce shattered this convention instantly. Butcher did not get angry. He got respect. I thought, blimey, he has not even played one game and he is telling me what to do, Butcher would say. Pearce cared more about defending properly than about social hierarchy. He cared more about the team than about keeping his mouth shut. This was the exact same thing Butcher cared about. That moment cemented Pearce as a leader in Butcher's eyes. Pearce earned the nickname Psycho. But Butcher's admiration was not for chaos, it was for leadership and toughness. Pearce was a dynamo on the left flank. In the late 1980s, England often played narrow midfields. This meant the full-backs had to do enormous amounts of work. They had to defend and they had to attack. Pearce had pace, he had energy, he had hardness. He could cover the entire left side by himself. Butcher noticed something else. Pearce and Chris Waddle formed a formidable partnership. When Pearce secured the left side, Butcher could stay central where he was most powerful. Butcher and Pearce were similar types. Both were seen as hard men. Both were deeply professional. Pearce worked as an electrician while playing non-league football. He brought grounding to the squad. Later, when Butcher coached Scotland, Pearce would tease him about it. He would whisper, "How is your conscience?" This was the banter of friends. It showed the depth of their bond. Brian Robson was the ultimate leader. If Butcher was the lieutenant, Robson was the general. Butcher calls him Robbo and speaks of him with pure admiration. Robson embodied everything that English football valued in the 1980s. He had box-to-box energy, he had goal-scoring ability from midfield, he had disregard for personal safety. Most impressive was his completeness. He sat in front of the back four, he won headers, he stopped opponents from attacking. Then, the next moment, he was in the box scoring with impeccable timing. This made England's job easier. Robson protected Butcher and the other defenders, but he also won the games with his own goals. Butcher highlights Robson's bravery. Robson would put his head where the boots were flying. This is a profound compliment from a man like Butcher. In the 1980s, tackling was ferocious. High boots were common. Robson's courage was real and it came at a cost. His career was plagued by injuries. Most of these injuries came while he was scoring or tackling for England. Butcher understood this sacrifice. He made the same sacrifices. They were the hard core of the national team. They would physically enforce England's will. But Robson was more than just a fighter. He was the captain of the football team. He was also the captain of the drinking team. In an era before intense sports science rules, team bonding was essential. Robson led these social activities. He was the hardest worker in training. He was also the life of the party in the evening. This duality made him beloved. Butcher valued this. He valued camaraderie as much as skill. Paul Gascoigne is where everything changes. Gascoigne was pure chaos. Gascoigne was improvisation. Gascoigne was technical fluidity. Terry Butcher was structure, discipline, and physical imposition. Yet Butcher calls Gazza the most gifted individual England ever produced. This selection reveals something vital. Butcher understood that a team cannot function with 11 copies of himself. A team needs magic. A team needs someone who can unlock defences with a single touch. Butcher and Gascoigne were together during the 1990 World Cup in Italy. Butcher was the ageing warrior holding the line. Gascoigne was the emerging superstar dragging the team forward. Gascoigne had the lot. He had goal-scoring ability, he had skill, he had a strong work rate. Butcher demanded hard work from his players. Gascoigne delivered it. Despite his reputation for chaos, he put in the hard yards. The relationship between these two was like a stern headmaster and a mischievous pupil. Butcher recounts the famous bugler incident at Wembley. Gascoigne accidentally hit a ceremonial bugler in the mouth with a football. Rather than hiding or making excuses, Gascoigne went to the treatment room. He jokingly asked the victim, "Who did that?" He promised to find the culprit. Butcher calls him an unbelievable character. In the pressure cooker of Italia 90, Gascoigne's daftness was pressure relief. Cannot have 11 Butchers. The tension would be unbearable. You need a Gascoigne to break the tension. Even if he is a nightmare to manage, the image of Gascoigne crying in Turin is famous, but the image of Butcher consoling him is equally important. That shows what these two meant to each other. Michel Platini is unique on this list. Platini is the only player Butcher never played with. Butcher only played against him. Yet Platini made such an impression that Butcher selects him as a favourite. This speaks volumes. Butcher frequently selects Platini in his dream teams. The moment happened on February 29, 1984, at the Parc des Princes in Paris. France beat England 2-0. Platini scored both goals. There were 2 free kicks. The English defence, including Butcher and Shilton, were helpless. After the match, Platini called Butcher over. He gave him his shirt. For the best player in Europe to seek out an English centre-back was profound validation. Platini won the Ballon d'Or 3 years in a row. He noticed Butcher. He respected him enough to swap shirts. Butcher describes Platini as a genius. He notes something specific. Platini had no pace, yet he had so much technique. He had so much time on the ball. This observation is tactical. Butcher had dealt with fast, physical threats his whole career. Platini did not run past him. Platini thought past him. Platini's vision and use of the ball represented a style rare in the First Division. English football was physical. Platini was elegant. Butcher admired what he could not be. Platini practically won the European Championships on his own in 1984. He scored 9 goals in 5 games. England had failed to qualify for that tournament. Butcher watched from afar as Platini dismantled defences with elegance. By selecting Platini, Butcher acknowledges the standard of world-class football in the 1980s. Platini was the benchmark. English teams aspired to beat him, but rarely could. Chris Waddle completes the list. Waddle was the creative outlet on the wing. Butcher praises Waddle's technical purity. He cites Waddle's sweet left foot. He talks about how Waddle could caress the ball. The word caress is significant coming from a man like Butcher. It suggests delicacy and precision. This stands in sharp contrast to the brute force of 80s football. Waddle was a nightmare for any defender. He could go outside and cross, or he could cut inside and shoot. He was mainly right-footed, but played on the left. This tactical inversion confused fullbacks. They never knew what he would do next. Butcher and Waddle shared a love of mullets. This is humorous, but it grounds the selection in its time. The mullet was the symbol of the late 1980s footballer. It was a bit rebellious, it was a bit flashy, but it came from working-class roots. However, Butcher's main reason for selecting Waddle is practical. Waddle worked up and down the pitch. He was not a luxury player who stood on the halfway line waiting for the ball. He tracked back. For a defender like Butcher, this was invaluable. A winger who protects his fullback makes the centre-back's job easier. Waddle offered the complete package, the magic to win in attack, the graft to save in defence. When we step back and view all 7 together, Butcher's footballing philosophy becomes clear. It is built on complementary opposites. The spine consists of Shilton the goalkeeper, Betty the centre-back, Butcher himself, and Robson the midfielder. This core provides the steel. It provides communication. It provides aerial power, tackling, and leadership. Then there is the flair. Pearce gives attacking width. Waddle gives creative genius on the left. Gascoigne gives unpredictability and magic. Platini gives continental sophistication. This group provides the silk. They provide creativity, vision, dribbling, and the unexpected. A unifying thread connects all 7 selections. Strength of personality. Shilton was obsessive. Pearce was audacious. Robson was a brave captain. He led both on the pitch and in social situations. Beattie was daft, but lovely. He could make you laugh and make you think. Gascoigne was a mad genius. He was brilliant and chaotic. Waddle was the relaxed artist. Platini was the arrogant genius in the best sense. Butcher implies that supreme talent is not enough to be a favourite. You must be a presence. You must add to the collective spirit of the group, whether through shouting instructions or cracking jokes or leading the charge into a tackle. When people think of Terry Butcher, they picture one image: a bloodied shirt, a symbol of pure bravery. But this selection of 7 players reveals a footballing mind of nuance. Butcher valued the technical caress of Waddle as much as the crunch of Pearce. He revered the foreign elegance of Platini as much as the domestic grit of Robson. He loved the chaos of Gascoigne. He loved the stability of Shilton. He admired the potential of Beattie and the audacity of Pearce. By curating this list, Butcher did not just pick his close friends and former teammates for sentimental reasons. He designed the perfect football machine. It is a machine that relies on a vocal goalkeeper. It relies on a versatile, organised defence. It relies on a brave midfield. It relies on uninhibited creativity in attack. It is a team that could win a fight in the tunnel and also a chess match on the pitch. For Terry Butcher, these 7 players represent the beautiful game in its most complete form: hard, fair, skilled and full of character. These are the captain's choice.